Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police just updated reporters on the scene in West Charlotte about a current homicide investigation. Right now, let's go straight out to Jonathan Lowe, who is live for us with more details. Jonathan.
Yeah, that's right, Claudine, and I want to tell you right off that CMPD is in the process of trying to get an Amber Alert issued for a 2-month-old child they believe is in the company of the suspect in this first homicide of 2018. Let's take you right to some video we shot as soon as we got here. They are calling this a domestic violence related homicide. Let me just step out of the way so that you can get a closer look at the heavy presence by CMPD here at the scene. 23-year-old Jonathan Bennett is now on the run with police believe a 3-month-old child. He's believed to be in a white Ford Expedition with New York plates. We are working to get the specifics on that tag number. Here is CMPD giving a little bit more detail about someone they are looking for right now.
Her name is Journey, and that is spelled Journei. Last name Bennett, born October 17th of 2017. We believe that she's in the company of Mr. Bennett at this time.
Some breaking news now out of uptown Charlotte. An officer shot in the parking lot of CMPD headquarters. Let's go there. Our Spectrum News reporter Jonathan Lowe joins us now from the scene. Jonathan, what do you know?
Well, Rob, not very much information out right now about what unfolded in the parking lot just behind me. What we do know from CMPD, according to tweets that they just sent out, is that an officer was shot in the leg here in the parking lot. That officer was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and we do expect some additional info to be coming at any moment. As you can see here in the parking lot, we've got a lot of CMPD officers.
An ambush attack. We're supposed to hear from Chief Kurt Putney soon. But in the meantime, let's turn it over to our Spectrum News reporter, Jonathan Lowe, who joins us now from the scene. Jonathan, what do we know so far?
Well, one thing that we do know from CMPD's Twitter account is that that officer was shot in the leg, was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. So that is a piece of good news. We do not know if anybody else was shot in the parking lot here of CMPD headquarters. Our nights had actually ended, and then this unfolded and many of us came back into work. It was quite difficult getting into uptown. I'll tell you that many of the streets that are closest to CMPD headquarters are blocked off right now. You cannot get close to CMPD headquarters.
We continue to follow a developing story out of uptown Charlotte. An officer shot at CMPD headquarters in an ambush attack. We're told that officer's going to be okay. The shooter killed in the ensuing shootout. Let's go there. Check in with our Spectrum News reporter Jonathan Lowe for more. Jonathan, what else do we know?
Well, Rob, I can tell you this is all connected to that homicide earlier today on Carlisle Drive, where we learned that a woman, a 24-year-old woman, Brittany White, was shot and killed. And we have now learned that police believe the person who was believed to be her killer, 23-year-old Jonathan Bennett, her boyfriend, was the person that came into the parking lot here and basically ambushed an officer. That officer, we understand, was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. We understand she was shot in the leg. Let's take you to the mugshot of that individual that CMPD was looking for. 23-year-old Jonathan Bennett was believed to be the person that shot and killed Brittany White in that home on Carlisle Drive, and then was the subject of a search because police said he took the 2-month-old daughter that they share. Let's take you to some video, though. Fast forward to earlier this evening when we were here on an unrelated story. We were under the impression that CMPD might actually catch up with Bennett and bring him here to CMPD, and so we were waiting for what we call a perp walk. Our photographer, if I can get you to come from behind the camera, if we can come back out here to the scene, Todd Baldwin was sitting in his news vehicle when that gunfire erupted. He was sitting just vehicles over. You've had a chance to hear what happened. Tell me, you see where the vehicle is parked, that the individual was driving. They say he came in, drove in, and just got out and started shooting.
Yeah, I was actually in my car. I was backed in a couple of spaces down from where he actually parked at. I didn't notice anything. I was actually doing something on my phone at the time. And then all of a sudden I heard gunshots.
How many shots would you say?
I would estimate 6 to 8 to 10. It all happened very fast. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 or 10 gunshots.
Did you happen to see or know at that point that an officer had been shot?
I did not. When I looked up, I seen an officer standing in the parking lot firing at someone, and that person dropped to the ground. And I didn't know I didn't know at that time who had been shot.
Then there's the rush to get them help, which is you also witnessed that as well.
Yeah, the officers were running around saying she needs an ambulance, get an ambulance. Officers were running out from the police department. One officer started throwing things out of his car, saying we need to get her to the hospital. I think at that time the ambulance was on the way. So now I know that they were talking about the police officer that had been shot, but I did not actually see where that happened at.
Last thing for you, and that is, this unfolded really close to you. I mean, that's got to be running through your mind. At the time, of course, I didn't know where the shots were coming from, but I knew that they were really close. So I looked around, and after I seen that I was in the clear, I grabbed my camera and came out and started getting video. Got to work.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Before we wrap this up, I want to point you to something that the chief said that was really important. Obviously, this parking lot where CMPD is very public. There's always a lot of traffic back and forth going in and out of CMPD headquarters. I asked him, with this situation, are they now going to rethink that? Here is what he said.
It's a public building, but we're going to have to think about how we can keep ourselves safe within it. As far as a parking lot, if somebody wants to ambush one of us, they can do that virtually anywhere. So again, I would hope we'd be a little bit more thankful about the officers who do this work, because this kind of puts it in perspective. It's a dangerous job. Not everybody's willing to do it, and those who do, I'm humbled to be a part of such a profession where people willingly put their lives at risk like this.
All right, just as we end this, I want to let you know that suspect, 23-year-old Jonathan Bennett, was taken to the hospital. He was shot multiple times, and we learned that he died at the hospital. That officer, again, is expected to be okay. Non-life-threatening injuries, was shot in the leg. We're here at CMPD headquarters. Jonathan Lowe, Spectrum News.
After a shooting in police headquarters parking lot, CMPD changed the way it secures that facility. Meanwhile, the officer injured in the shootout Thursday night continues to recover. Spectrum News reporter Jonathan Lowe has an eyewitness account of that shooting from one of our colleagues, and he joins us with more information about that and the current changes. Jonathan.
Well, thank you, Claudine. In the last 24 hours, we've learned that officer was shot right here near the entrance to CMPD headquarters. And so officials, they can't completely cut off access to this building, but the public is going to be facing some big changes. They won't be able to get into this building day or night, as you can see from that sign there, unless they first buzz and are given access. By all accounts, there was no warning before the gunfire.
Nothing at all.
But once Spectrum News photographer Todd Baldwin heard it,
The first thing that crossed my mind was an ambush.
earlier in the evening Thursday, and operating on a hunch, officers may track down homicide and kidnapping suspect Jonathan Bennett.
So I was parked in this last parking spot right here. I had backed in so I could see this area where they bring the suspects in.
Around 10:45, CMPD says Bennett also drove into the CMPD headquarters parking lot.
I didn't realize the suspects had been parked right here on the other side of this bush.
Bennett, we're told, then got out and just started shooting at a group of officers standing in the lot. 3-year member of the force, Officer Casey Shue, shot in the leg.
I did not realize the officer had been hit. All I knew that the police officer here was shooting at somebody here.
Baldwin clearly recalls other officers rushing to get her medical attention.
Policeman like throwing things out of his car saying we've got to get her to the hospital, we have to get her to the hospital.
He also remembers the very spot where police eliminated the threat.
Suspect was laying about in this area right here.
Its officers and everyone in that area responded quickly.
Now, Charlotte Mayor Vilyles and others wanting to ensure this safe space remains that way.
As far as blocking off streets and access to the police department, that's not something that we're considering.
And you're taking a look there at one of several surveillance cameras that surround this parking lot and the CMPD headquarters. It's not clear if any of those caught what happened in this parking lot Thursday night. However, we do know there is body cam video, and we're told by officials that could be released as soon, possibly, as next week. At CMPD headquarters in Uptown Charlotte, Jonathan Lowe, Spectrum News.
All right, Jonathan, thanks a lot. 2 CMPD officers and 2 probation officers fired their weapons at Jonathan Bennett. All of them have been placed on paid administrative leave, which is a standard procedure in any officer-involved shooting.